Before we went to break is programs, because now we're going to talk about programs. So I'm going to pass this off to, well, you might be off the hook. All right, so programs, Marie.
All righty, so I am fortunate that the rest of the year is booked. I have programs lined up for the rest of the year, and I know that Bruce has some great footage that we talked about earlier, so we're going to try to work him in somewhere, some way, somehow this year or next year. So I appreciate that, Bruce. And this evening, we have the pleasure of Tobi from 72 Aquatics, Paragon Dive Shop, and he's going to tell us about when he was being a dive instructor in Indonesia, yes? Thailand. And they had the tsunami and what it was like being the dive instructor during this crazy time.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, I figured it's the 5th time you guys are inviting me. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Maria and Rob asked me a couple of months ago, Tobi, you want to do another presentation? And I intuitively knew what I wanted to talk about as a kind of I think an interesting perspective from my life 21 years ago when I was involved in that natural disaster in the diving context. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about, in general, tsunamis, and then go in a chronological order through the days before, the day after, and a little bit the aftermath. Has anybody been to Thailand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anybody been to that island? We recognize that island there. Fantastic. When were you there? 2008. Sorry, this is Phi Phi Island in Thailand. Yeah, this is a. Okay, very good. Yeah, 2008 was the year I left the island and finally. So maybe we passed by on the ferry or something. Yeah, beautiful paradise. You see, this is a fantastic, fantastic place. One of the places in Thailand with the highest cost of living. It's still relatively low for our standards, but since it's so small and there's so many people wanting to go, it really, really exploded tourism-wise. I was there just in February this year, and it's quite crazy. Oh yeah. We start with this beautiful picture and then we see how the presentation develops. Maybe I just start a little bit about tsunamis in general. What is a tsunami? I mean, everybody has an idea of it. What I didn't know that there's actually a couple of different causes for tsunamis. This is from the NOAA website here. 80% are caused by earthquakes, but just the tectonic plates moving rapidly, cracking, and then creating this these waves. Also volcanic eruptions or landslides. That's what I initially thought when I saw the wave, the water everywhere. I thought, oh, one of the big limestone mountains here. You can see there's this tall mountains. I thought one of those fall into the water and created the wave. And then meteorite impact, and of course also storms can push the water, so it creates a tsunami. But 80%, most of them are caused by earthquakes. Examples, famous examples in history. In Lisbon in the 18th century, the city of Lisbon in Portugal got 60,000 people killed with a really strong originating earthquake, 8.5 to 9. And Krakatoa is a famous place as well. This was a volcanic eruption. And then we all probably remember the 2011 Fukushima disaster. And for me, when I would talk about the story about the tsunami, it was always a little difficult to understand how can water do so much damage. We all love water. We go in water. We feel so good in the tropical warm water. How can this element create so much destruction? But when you think about it, 1 square meter, 3 feet times 3 feet times 3 feet, weighs a ton. A 1,000 kilo. And a small car weighs like a ton. So if you imagine an avalanche of cars moving, big waves, then the AI created me this little image. And another thing to notice here in Fukushima, they had 15,000 deaths. And this area is very densely populated, but they had actually a system in place, a warning system. So they evacuated 300,000, and if that would have been the number killed without a system, you can see how effective the Japanese do it. And I think tsunami is also a Japanese word. Then yeah, this tsunami that happened here in 2004, December 26th, Boxing Day, was one of the biggest disasters in modern history, natural disasters to my knowledge. Was a 9.2 earthquake at 8 a.m. local time in Sumatra, the northern area of Sumatra, western Indonesia, and it ripped the ocean floor of 1,300 kilometers long, ripped in the trench. 14 countries were affected, totaling 230,000 deaths. So that's really crazy, and most of big number here in Indonesia, as it was the closest and also the most densely populated. And then it moved all across, and then I don't know, 12 hours later, even in Somalia, people died. First, yeah, most affected Indonesia with 167,000, then Sri Lanka, I think 70, 60,000, then India, 30,000, and Thailand, relatively few, comparatively 8,000. And we got the wave on our little island over here, South Thailand, around 9:30 to 10. So it took, same time zone, so it took like 1.5, 2 hours to make the way up to our little island. Okay, we jump back. Tobi, 21 years ago, a little different. I'm originally from Germany, Hanover in Germany, and I was in Thailand as a 16-year-old with the family. The first time visited PP Island in '93, and then PP Island by then, so more than 30 years ago. And by then it was really this fishing village that tried to host a couple of tourists, backpacker tourists. You would walk off the dock of the pier, and the restaurants would give you a little cup, kind of a coffee mug, and you would drink your Coca-Cola from there. And the road was more like a sandy road, really. So I have early on in my life, I saw Thailand, and I was so amazed. How can anything be so beautiful? The people, the surface, and the water, of course. And I was studying forestry at the time, in the early 2000s. I was not happy in Germany. I wanted to do something else, and then found diving, and then found this internship, dive master internship in PP with a Swiss company, and started then to work in 2004. January I arrived, worked for PP Scuba Diving Center, and became an instructor in June of that year. And I knew this is my life. This has to be my life. I want to be the ambassador for the ocean and bring people into the ocean and make them feel comfortable and make them go back again. So that's a bit the reason of the presentation, as it's the account from a natural disaster, but it has the dimension of the instructor point of view. This ocean that I'm responsible for the safety of my people. This is my first objective, to have them safe, and then the ocean turns from one day to the other into this wild beast and kills the humans, and then it's quiet again and it's lovely again. So how do you deal with that schizophrenic kind of relationship? What do you do? I thought I will never go back there after that day, and then I stepped back a couple of months later again, and then I thought, oh, okay, Andaman Sea, which is the part of the Indian Ocean there, Andaman Sea has me again. Yeah, and that photo was taken just a few days before, 11 days before on a trip, I think, back from the island. Just had certified a couple of people probably. All right, now to just get us a bit more oriented here, we see this country of Thailand here, Southeast Asia. Thailand has two coasts, the Gulf of Thailand and the Andaman Sea, part of the Indian Ocean. And we have the capital, Bangkok, where we can fly in, and then we make it down to Phuket, really big touristic area. And then off Phuket, we have Phi Phi Island. And the name Phi Phi is a little bit, was not clear at the time. Now I'm Googling it. It comes from a Malay word, Pulau Api Api. Pulau is the Malay word for the island, and because it's close to Malaysia. And so some of the settlers there, or traders, they then made it into the Thai language, which meant island with mangrove, certain type of mangrove. So that must have been the original type of vegetation there. We have characteristic here. This is limestone rock, and in the shape of an H. So high limestone rocks here, and then in the middle, this bridge, very shallow sandy area, not very elevated. So you can imagine a tsunami will just blow over this thing. This Phi Phi Don is the main island with the main town in the center. This is where we're gonna talk about a lot here, where all the action happens. And then on the side, we have a few little beaches. And then there's a southern island called Phi Phi Lay, which is non-inhabited. This is an aerial, really beautiful aerial shot here. And that's where the diving happens. A lot of the diving happens here, phenomenal dive sites. I was just there in February, as I mentioned, and the dive sites are just breathtaking still for me. Even there's a lot of tourists there right now. Okay, little orientation on the island. So how was the island before, and how was my life before that day? So here you see the typical longtail boats. The locals drive the tourists around, or they use them for fishing as well. Very unique kind of design. And then here, this is like the back of the island at the time where the locals would hang out. I would get the cheap food there. I was like really on a budget, would eat for like 40 baht, which is equivalent of $1.20. I would eat my lunch. And then here, these are colleagues on the boat making fun. This gentleman should play an important role. His name is Johan from Sweden. He was actually the guy that signed up my now wife to take the open water course, and I was the instructor. So he was an important figure in my life. He was also really a big hero during the tsunami. Unfortunately, he died a couple of years ago, tragically, in Indonesia. But yeah, he played an important role. Here's me with a couple of dive students, a bunch of Germans, also a couple of days before the tsunami. I think maybe same time the first photo was there. Everybody happy, getting certified. And down here, this is a famous chef on the island that I always go back there when I visit. He makes the best Thai food for me. And maybe anybody knows this guy? Is this me? The famous movie The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio was filmed right there on that island. And that's Leonardo DiCaprio on one of the scenes. So I had to just throw that in. And this was in 2003, and that made the island really famous with the backpacker tourists. So everybody wanted to live like Leonardo DiCaprio lived in this movie. When you go on the island, you have the different restaurants. Usually the movie runs every second or third restaurants. You can watch it. Kind of a fun movie, but half of it, the first half is good, the second half is really strange to me. All right, Phi Phi before the wave. Underwater, it's a breathtaking environment. These are some of my images from that time. Here's my wife then later. She went and worked as a videographer. We have leopard sharks. Even the whale shark here comes sometimes. Peacock mantis shrimp, yellow boxfish, juvenile harlequin sweetlip, and then fantastic soft coral. So it's still a bit like this. The leopard sharks seem to not come back, and whale sharks are of course kind of rare. But yeah, it was my place, my initiation to the sport, to the ocean, and I feel still the best when I go back to these sites. I feel very comfortable with this place. Historically, moving now closer to the date, November 2004, there's a famous festival in Thailand called Loi Krathong that is celebrated, or where people put decorated baskets made out of palm leaves and flowers, and then they put them on the water to honor the water goddess and release bad luck. People put their hairs and their fingernails and send it out with good wishes. So the water goddess is good to them. And in hindsight, a couple years later, after tsunami, everything happened, the local rumor was that night, the wind blew back all these boats to shore. So they made that story that there was already a sign that something was up. This is the area where we would teach divers here. Instead of a pool, we would go to the confined water area. We have clownfish here, lionfish, all kinds of cool stuff. This is a typical boat situation here. You have students, dive instructors, certified divers. That's the way how we teach on the boat, out to the sites, partially, and then of course in the classrooms as well. This was the dive store exactly before the tsunami. We would sit here. We had the 2004 was a fantastic season. It was so busy. We were like 20 instructors all sitting out here. This is during the day, so it was not yet that busy. In the evening, after diving, we would sit there and drink a beer and kind of go on a hunt to sell diving. And people would come here from the ferry, stand with their backpacks, look around, no orientation, and then young Tobi would zoom out and offer them help. And if I see they have certain like white socks and look at the German flag on the sign, then I know these are Germans, so they are mine. Or Austrian or Swiss, I can also make them mine. I would offer them, leave your backpack in the store, and I tell you a little bit about the accommodation I can recommend to you, and then they go get their lodging and come back to me, and then, by the way, tomorrow, maybe diving. Yeah, this was a little shot from my bungalow where I would stay in that time. So it's, as you can see, maybe there's a little hill here. So I was in the elevated parts of the island, so the waves didn't get me. I was in one of those bungalows here called Reitmayr Villa. They don't exist anymore. Okay, just before we come closer, I want to show one more little episode. Not sure if you know that when you become a dive master, first professional level, in that part of the world, there is the final test they make you do. It's called the snorkel test. And you have to, upstairs, this is in the upstairs bar here, up here. And all the staff comes together, and then the snorkel test contestants get told to stand up on a stool and make a speech. And then he turns off the TV here, so make speech, and then the snorkel test happens. And this was my buddy, German guy. We started at the same time. His name was René, and he was a wild man. You can see his look. And I'm looking a little more concerned here, maybe what's coming. So I found these photos, and they were kind of funny. So this is then the snorkel test. So they give you a mask with prescription, so you get dizzy by just putting the mask on. And then your certified instructor puts this drink up into the snorkel, and you can imagine what's in there. Some type of whiskey, cola, egg, spices, not sure. And this was my instructor, Stig from Norway. He looks very serious here. And René has Jeremy from France. And you can already see the attitude here. René is a little more the tougher guy, and I'm like concerned with breathing. So I lift my mask up. I thought this is a good idea. But I was kind of determined I will not drink that stuff. I don't want that in my body. So I'd be okay when everybody laughs. I can live with that. And then this is the moment where I decided, that's it. all over. You see the devilish faces of these people. They are like really enjoying it. And then you see Rene, he's making the German sound of triumph. And Toby says, sorry guys, I didn't do it. Yeah, so this was the events before. This was a paradise for us, a lot of fun, young, and then I always was thinking, how can anything happen? The Thai kids will run around, the chickens would run around, the dogs, the cats. So unfortunately, then we come to that day or the day before maybe, and see what happens. So the day before, the 25th, as I mentioned, this was a really busy high season. High season that time of the year on that coast starts in October. And we were like working like crazy. I was like, I don't know, 2 weeks in the water before that every day, physically really getting exhausted. And on the 25th, I had this is a photo from the 25th. At the time, I only had 2 megapixel camera, kind of low quality camera. So my images are not that great. This was one of the Thai staff on the boat that I don't even know if he was certified or anything, but he decided to go diving that day. And you can see he's kind of excited going in. Yeah, that was on the 25th. And I would go dive on the local boat. We had different boats that would go out. That one would go 2 dives in the local area. And I had certified this honeymooner couple here, Aurelio and Francisca from Chile. And it turned out after Tsunami that they were quite a celebrity couple in Chile. So usually when I meet people from Chile, they know these people. And yeah, they were honeymooners and invited me to the guy was a winemaker. And he invited me to his wine place in Chile, and I speak Spanish too, so we really connected. And they stayed at a place called Princess Resort on the island, which was unfortunately really low, close to the waterline because it was so beautiful view and stuff. And the other thing that is worth mentioning, in the evening, I was finally finished working. This is the 25th, no Christmas. So for me in Germany, the 24th is actually the Christmas day. So on Christmas day, on the 24th, I had like this special dinner in a German restaurant over there. And on the 25th, I realized, I didn't really do very much. I worked until 10 at night and then walked home to the bungalow. And on the way, I bought some shawarma from an Israeli restaurant, little chicken. And I didn't have a fork, and the owner just lent me a metal fork. And I was kind of happy and went back to my bungalow and eat it and went sleeping. And then I wake up. So in the morning, 9 o'clock, I turn around. I'm so happy I don't have to work. It's so nice to sleep in, and I can hear like the sound of water rushing. No big deal. Maybe a pipe broke or something. And I turn around again. Then I hear people screaming and running and a little bit action outside of my bungalow. My eyes are closed. No, I just listen all the sounds around my bungalow. And then finally I hear adult men crying, adults crying. And that's a weird sound. Okay, then let's open the door here. And then I look into the valley and I see the floating pieces here of debris, parts of the whatever structures were there, bungalows and little huts. And around my place, all these people that just escaped the water, muddy in mud, in shock, with broken bones, dislocated shoulders, stuff like that. And I know what's going on here? What do I do? So this was then, confusion. What's this? What happened here? I thought, as I mentioned, the rock collapsed. I turned on my little radio, BBC World Service, no news, nothing. For a moment, I thought maybe I can hear something. And I tried to call my mom in Germany that something bad happened, but I'm okay. And my phone, of course, doesn't work. Later on, I was able to call her, and she knew I was okay. She hadn't heard what happened. So around me, people in shock, dead people just starting to appear. The water receded eventually. So I experienced the last wave. I came out when the last wave was up, and then the wave moved out, and then we saw the mess, the damage. And the strange thing that I don't know why I did that, but I saw these dead people, and I thought I can't just leave them there. It's not what you do. I don't know. And in the island, we have these little trolleys, like metal carritos, you would say, with 2 wheels, where everything was transported. The island doesn't have cars or anything. So we would, another instructor, Carrie, or videographer, she was from the US. We just happened to be at the same spot together, and like, Carrie, let's put this person on a trolley and move him up the hill, because we don't know, maybe more waves come and they're gonna get washed away. So I still wonder why we did that, but it felt like that's what you do. Or you cover the people. So I went into my bungalow, I put the sheet over the people. It felt like you have to do this. And then after a while, yeah, we realized we do this with a couple of people, bring them up the hill and put them in the row. So maybe we should care. There's actually a lot of wounded people here and shocked people. Maybe we should care about those. And then moving out from my bungalow, I look towards the north. This looks like here, ground zero. And then to the south, no way. This used to be a path here, and this was full with all kinds of billiard, like pool tables and fridges, and no way to get through there. So yeah, what do we do? And these were my images before. This is another friend of mine further, just downhill from me. And he took little better photos to illustrate what happened. This was an instructor here from another dive shop, and this was maybe, I don't know, 11 o'clock or something. So he slept in more than me, and then woke up, and then, wow, that's like this was a rough night look. Like, oh my God, what happened here? This is another instructor from a company called Island Divers, and I don't know what he's doing out there. He looks like he walked in and is walking back out. There's some more here. The waters was really strange, gray, really ugly, nasty water, gray and stinky, and brought all this stuff. And here's a bunch of also dive professionals moving debris to probably get someone out of there. And then I don't put the pictures of the dead people in there, but I think much more powerful. There's a few photos of the people on their looks. So this has a maybe even more powerful effect, the way the people look on some of these photos. And then relatively soon, maybe 1, 2 o'clock, helicopters fly around. So that was a good feeling. Okay, we have some helicopters, maybe they can help us. But where do we go? Where do we bring the people that need help? So to give us an idea here, how are we oriented? So here we have the center of Phi Don. It's called Tonsai Village. And Tobi's bungalow was here. See, this is this little hill. So I was kind of in the back, elevated. And then it turned out that here, there's a big hotel here, Cabana Hotel, that has like basketball courts or so. This was the ideal spot for the helicopters to land. But how would we get there? And we found eventually a way to go through here and then go on the beach. Same this way, go on the beach, because there was not so much debris. All the roads are kind of blocked or partially blocked. So what we did, without much discussion, we just organized in little groups with the dive pros of the island. We knew the island, we knew the areas, and we realized we have to bring whoever needs it down to that point. And we figured people that can walk, we will just break the bungalow doors out of the bungalows, plastic doors, and then 4 people doors on the shoulders, and then we put them on the doors, and then we move them out. And that worked kind of okay. Yeah, and I put it into a couple of zones here. Zone 1, this was the immediate one close to me, and then we moved later to zone 2, and then eventually to the viewpoint where a lot of people had gone because of being afraid, no? And also you can see the topography here. This is the northern bay, Dalam, and this is Cabana Bay here, Cabana Beach. and the waves came. We will talk later about it, but from the south, and then too big from the north. And here you can see how the wave can pile up. Over here, it's kind of difficult to see because there's all this reflection, but this is more like a reef edge. So the wave over here was more like a very fast water going up, like a high tide, really quick high tide. First super low tide, and then high tide, super high. And it got actually reflected back to Pipi Lay, and it destroyed some corals there. We will have a look at it very soon. Okay, another sad fact, lots of looting is going on. So it was this moment of this time of lawlessness, and unfortunately, it felt really not good to see people just taking the opportunity and stealing stuff. People would take TVs, DVD players, and then walk off. And I'm really like, really, this DVD player is more important than the help of this guy that guy needs. You instead prefer to take the DVD player. That was like, how can that be? ATM machines, we saw the safes broke open from hotels. It was like not a good feeling when you saw all the kind of official structure breaking what comes out of people. There was one older gentleman just handing me dive equipment. He knew I was a diver, and he's just, this is a local guy, old, hands me a first stage from a regulator, and I was like, okay. And I see it was a bag, and it was from one of my colleagues. So I take, no, this is from my friend, and I put it all back and take the bag. And I know they're gonna break in my bungalow too eventually, so I make sure I have whatever valuable I have. My dive equipment was all in the dive shop, and I had no idea what happened. It was not nothing got stolen from me. I took it early enough, and in the dive, it was, yeah, I took it early enough so nobody could steal it. So this is a picture of Cabana Beach here. This is where the helicopters could land. There's a big space here. So the way the helicopters would organize themselves, they would land in, and then they had all these water bottles and cookies and whatever, and they would throw it out as fast as they could. And then we would come with whoever we brought there, and we pushed the injured person into the helicopter. And then I've experienced the first time this, what is triage? I didn't know that word at the time, but I could see how difficult this can be to decide who goes in and who has to wait. So there was a few people there that were kind of, it felt like some foreigners and some Thai that were very in charge of that. Maybe they had experience with these situations and they knew how to do a little bit the triage. So I just did what I thought made sense, but I didn't have the big picture like those guys. So after we sweep these zones, we go up to the viewpoint. As I mentioned, here you see the view from the viewpoint. You see also an unusual sight. All the boats are out. Usually they're much more closer into the pier because they're out, they're scared of more waves. That was one thing, more waves. There was a couple of mass panics. I was in there. Someone said, water coming, and then we were all running. And that lasted a couple of years later on the islands too. And eventually I didn't run anymore. Everybody else ran later. But at that time I was also scared, and I would run when someone said water coming. Oh, you heard the water. Shh. Heard some water, some wave or so. So we ran a couple of times. So up on that hill, there was a lot of people, all the Thai families here, traumatized, all the foreigners traumatized. In Thailand, the foreigners are called Farang, which is a Thaization of the word foreigner, Falang. And that's a cute word, and I like to be called Farang. So yeah, the Farang here, the Thai people here, and then there was one hut that they had a lot of injured people in that, especially a couple of kids in that. I found this photo. I didn't know that I was on that photo, and there was I think a French doctor was this. So I was really happy to have an actual doctor there. And I saw these kids. Yeah, you can see them, and they look very, very injured and very sedated. He had some very strong painkillers also. And so that's already afternoon. The sun will go down here pretty soon. I don't know, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And I wanted to bring those kids out, but all the guys in here said, no, Tobi, is not a good idea. When it's dark, we don't do that. We wait till the morning. And that was a really hard wait. And then when the sun come up, we would take these guys out. But yeah, the night comes, we can't do anything. We stay on this viewpoint. And funnily, I have a birthday on the 27th. And I meet this German girl that just also worked in diving in a different store, and dive master trainee. And we befriend each other. Of course, I meet another German, you kind of connect. And then she whispers, I tell her it's my birthday, and she whispers, "Happy birthday, Tobi." No, don't say it. Didn't want to feel like happy. I didn't feel like I deserve be celebrated or something. But it was cute. It was a cute moment, and I'm still in contact with her. And then we just spent the night there, and not much sleep or no sleep. And we listen down to the village. We hear mass. A couple of times people start to scream, and they probably had a mass like panic that they thought the waves would come again. And then strangely at 5 in the morning, the roosters of the island start to do their crowing. And I wonder, where did all these roosters come from? This kind of makes no sense. And now in hindsight, I don't know what that was, but it sounded like all the roosters at 5 o'clock made sound. So the sun comes over the horizon, and then another instructor that was kind of my buddy at the time, we kind of worked together from France, Jonathan. We pick up one of the girls. I believe her name was Peo, and then we just run. We take her on the arm and run. And she's maybe 5, I don't know, 5, 6 or so. And we do it like I take her, and Jonathan runs, and he throws the debris to the side. He makes the way free for me, and we run. And then I get tired, I give him the girl, and then I do that for him. So I don't know how long that took, but it felt for a long time. Her aunt was coming with us, this is one not closed chapter for me. I still want to know what happened to the girl. So I go back. When I went back the last time, I talked to some Thai people and asked them, at the time I had a girl that I rescued. Maybe someone remembers the German guy that did it. And then she says, no, Tobi, I lost 20 people of my family in that tsunami. I don't really want to talk about. And I say, okay, there's actually, maybe I should not talk about it. Maybe I let that go. So yeah, we reach then back again, Cabana Hotel, and yeah, I take turns over the rubble. After an eternity, we finally eat something. Some cold rice and chicken was there. It was the best rice and chicken I ever ate. And I finally exhale a little bit and look around, see these like mattresses they put out, and then these nurses. This guy, he had a dislocated shoulder. Initially, he was around my bungalow the first time I opened, and this was my t-shirt. And I think I also gave him this bandaging there, and he was still sitting there in the morning. So they didn't prioritize him for the triage, and I must have been really in pain. And then these nurses were really impressive. There was one nurse, I can't remember, I don't think it was her, I think maybe it was her. She was an Asian lady, very good English, maybe American English. And I look at her, and she would look at this field, these mattresses, with all these suffering people, all these wounded people, all this misery. And she would say really strong words. And I think one of the strongest person I ever seen. She said, listen, everybody, I know this is very hard for you, but you will live. And this was like a moment where you cut the air with the sword. I don't know, this makes the most sense to me. It was so strong for someone in that ocean of misery to find that, understand that need of these humans. I was like, I'm not religious, but this was maybe a little bit religious for me. So yeah, we sit there, we exhale, we reorganize, think what we do now. And then we had a little bit more time. We start now to sweep larger areas, see what else is more injured people. And it felt like there was that tsunami's law. It was always the most biggest person on the highest bungalow with the most difficult injury, spinal injury, or water in the lung, or something like that. Yeah, it felt like this. Probably because at that point, this were the last ones to be moved out. So somehow we found those people. And yeah, I remember there was a lady like that, really high up on the bungalow, up on the hill, and she had a spinal injury, and she was laying there, and there was all these foreigners standing around her and waiting and not knowing what to do. We didn't want to move her. I started to talk with her a little bit and introduce myself and try to, I don't know, ease a bit the situation. But it was very hard for her to just wait and knowing she gets the help. And finally, a small gentleman with the gray hair comes like walking towards us, and I ask him, "Who are you?" And he says, "Yes, I'm a doctor, and yes, I have a neck brace." And you can see all the standing people, the lung, a liter of air in the lung went out of all these people, because we knew, okay, we can move on. This lady has help now. This was then kind of the team at the end. The photo was taken, I think, yeah, with my camera. This was a guy that was on a day trip from Hong Kong, or so, some young kid that wanted to just stay to have a day trip to PP. And he took that photo, and it must have been really crazy for him to come from the mainland, and then this happens. And this was, most of these guys were part of the dive team. There's Jonathan from France, Muriel from Israel, Maria Sweden. This is John from the UK, Carl from South Africa, UK, Terry, Johan, Sweden, and then a Czech girl. I don't remember her name. So we make our final walk back to the pier. Finally, that's it. There's a lot of tourists here wanting to get off the island. You see all the long line here. We're all standing. The atmosphere is very tense. If someone says wave, 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 then it's going to be a stampede and we all fall in the water, or it's not going to be good. This is a lady from Switzerland, and this was Jonathan here, and I think this is me with the backpack. This is Jonathan here too. That helped me, the instructor. And then this is Andy, another instructor, and we're looking down here at the destroyed island. And yeah, the atmosphere was very tense, and it was one of the few times in Thailand where I felt like the Thai people were angry at the foreigners. There was a boat approaching, and it was supposed to just load the dead people, and the tourists would wanted to try to walk on the boat, and then the Thai screamed, "Farang mai dai." Farang, foreigners cannot do that. It was a really angry expression, and this is not typical. Usually the Thais are very harmonic. There's never like any uprising in emotions. And that was one of the few times that stayed in my mind where they got, because we were in this tense situation, saying that. So we take the boat to Krabi on the mainland. It takes around, I think, 2 hours or so. And then in Krabi we arrive, there's chaos, but no destruction, strangely. And we thought, oh, how is the mainland looking like? Who knows? But the fact they had the helicopters for us was already a good sign. If they would have been really affected, maybe no helicopters. But yeah, there was no damage in Krabi to my knowledge. And all the people, all the local waited for their families. And then, and I don't know, I put that in here. When you drive with the ferry to Krabi, you see a lot of mangroves. And we know mangroves can help protect the coast. So I don't know what these mangroves did, helping to protect the coast from the tsunami. But yeah, we are kind of exhausted here. We are tired. And most of my group, they were like just done. They just sit down and don't do anything. And I was still like, okay, I actually would really like to go to a hotel or somewhere. And then I got us a taxi and booked some hotel somehow with the local agent. I don't remember. and we go to the taxi and exhale. Exhale, couple of days in the hotel, watching CNN, something on the island I didn't have, like TV or anything, air-conditioned TV, and in the hotel there, you have air-conditioned, you have TV, you watch CNN up and down, try to understand what happened here, and drink some local whiskey, think that's gonna help. And then, yeah, what do I do? Like most of my people, or I don't know, maybe 70%, 60% of people in my role would go home. They would go to Europe or the US or to Australia or to South Africa. And I felt like, no, I don't feel like that, strangely. I feel like this is my place here. I'm gonna go to the other coast. So I go to the Gulf of Thailand, to Koh Phangan, to a friend. He said, stay with me, Tobi. And we spent the New Year there, and I was just very uncomfortable with all these celebrating people. Everybody party and hali-gali, and I can't. I just want to be not here in this party. And then after a week, I moved on to Koh Tao, which is another island or the hub for diving in Thailand, maybe. Very big diving industry, but it was kind of low season at the time. So we arrived with a lot of the other colleagues, and there was no work. So we would just chill and exhale, and kind of running out of money a little bit because we were not paid. It was end of the month, the 26th, and we should have gotten paid and no payment. So we kind of hang in there, very low budget. But eventually the work started to come in, and I started to work with a dive shop called Blacktip Diving, and do my German open water students again. Okay, open. There's still something open here, no? What about Francisca and Aurelio, the honeymooners from Chile? They were very cute on that 25th. They had them in the confined water, and they would like share air, and he wanted to share air with her, and she said, no, you don't get my ultimate air. So they were a really cute little couple. Yeah, like this. This is just a photo. It's not them. So I remember a couple of days after tsunami, what about Aurelia and Francisco? I know Francisca, they were in the Princess Resort, and that was really affected. That was blown away. What happened to them? And he had given me the card from him, Aurelio Montes winemaker, and there was the phone number in Chile. So I called Chile. Don't remember time zone, kind of a little bit off. So I call, and I have, I think I had the mom on, and she tells me, yeah, I have. He's okay, but she is still missing. So that's not good. And then a couple of days later, in the internet cafe, I see, or on the internet at the time, I Googled, I think, and then found, and then the article is, there's still an article here. They found her finally, like, I don't know, a week later, 10 days later, and she was dead. So she didn't make it. Kind of a really tragic story. And but the public, so yeah, this is one of the articles, and he's remarried then again down the road. And a couple of years ago, actually, her sister contacted me, and this was a really good talk, because she wanted to know about this part of her sister's life, and I wanted to know a little bit about her. So it was a really good kind of closing thing. What else? So I come back the first time. This was on the way back, the first time in April 2005. The island was empty of trash mostly, but clean. There was nothing there. But it was still a very weird environment. You can see the local people were very traumatized, and you could still smell the dead in the different corners. And lots of volunteers were there, backpackers. So backpackers go through Southeast Asia, Westerners, and then they stop by and they see the destruction, and they decide, oh, why don't I just stay and help? So there's lots of volunteers. They were cleaning the beaches here, diving, snorkeling, and I wanted to help too, but I was a little broke on money. So I still feel I would have loved to help, but I couldn't afford it to just hang in there and stay there for months and months. So I left again and went to Malaysia and had a great experience in the peninsula Malaysia on islands called Perhentian Islands. And this is where I'm gonna go. Reason I go back to these areas is also to a little bit reconnect with that history. So Malaysia, I have to go back again this October to connect a little bit. It's not the same island, but similar setting, not too fast, also in the peninsula Malaysia called Tioman. And I stayed for a couple of months there and then went back and started again in the season October. When the season started, it was finally kind of okay again. And I stayed until 2008. What else was remarkable here? We think, no, tsunamis can really destroy corals, but it was really surprisingly not much destruction, except one site called Table Coral City on Pipilay, opposite of the main island, where you can see all the table corals got pushed over. So those didn't make it. Otherwise, the diving, we said, was even better because there was so much less tourism going on. Also, interestingly, you would think all the divers in the water, how were they affected? And there was a lot of stories of people with the weird currents and getting pushed up and pushed down. There's stories of people getting bent and hurt. But in my microcosm on that island, there was, to my knowledge, not everybody was very scared, but no real injuries or other problems. Also, they started to implement some type of warning system, which was not very functional. They put all these alarm sirens up, and then when I came in April, I think the batteries were already taken out, were already like stolen, unfortunately. So not sure what kind of system is there now, but yeah, I would be a little careful. My personal system now is I look if the water goes out really far. That was in hindsight. I'm not sure if I would have been so smart. I would have thought, oh wow, that's a cool low tide, and I would look at the corals from close up. But yeah, that would be I still like dream a little bit about this stuff. Sometimes I think I'm done dreaming, and then I dream again. So it comes in really far distances. So I'm quite okay. One more. There was only one day, the 365 days on the island. The one day off was New Year, and since that time, the 26th is also off, and that's I think the anniversary 2 years later. Quite impressive. A lot of the family members came and mourn here the moment. I think that's at like 10:30 when the waves kind of hit. So how did the waves come here? Japanese researcher reconstructed like a year later. Yes, yeah. I think that's it. Yeah, one side. So they went there and reconstructed checked the destruction and reconstructed the height of the wave. So it was 3 waves. This is from a German book of some journalist that put it all together. So the first wave came from the south, 4.6 meters high, but it's 14 feet or so, 13 feet. And then 2 big waves from the north, almost 6 meters high, like 18, 17 feet or something. Yeah, that made the destruction. Here you see one of the waves coming from the north in, like this gray water, and it's not just a wave coming back; it's a wave and a wall of water following. Okay, what did we forget? Yes, sir. It went a little bit. My latest numbers, I think they got corrected. We said that it was 800 locals on the island at the time, and 6,000 tourists or something like that. And I think 2,000 people died. And another number I saw was like 1,500 or so. Also, yeah. Man, you imagine you got wiped through the water, crashed against cars, so there were traumatic bodies, but also drowned. Right? There's one more question that I haven't answered. I don't know if the fork. So I got the fork the last day, no, before the tsunami. I borrowed a fork from the Israeli restaurant owner. So 3 years later, I walk in Pipi and I see that guy. His name is Daniel. I see him on the other side of the road, and he sees me. And you know when you have traumatic experience, you you go back in time and you zoom into that day, and your life splits in the day in your life before and your life after, and you move back and forth, and you think about the people that you had contact with just before when life was still good. And he did that with me, and I did that with him, right? So in that moment, we see each other, and he thought maybe, oh, what about that guy that maybe he died? And I thought the same thing. What about his restaurant? Maybe he died. And then we kind of happy to each other and like hit the hand. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Toby. We appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you. Raffle.